Remember, my hypotenuse has to be opposite the right angle. So 15 squared has to go on the side by itself. If I take the square root of both sides, I get the square root of 29. But on the test, it might be given to you as a decimal, so make sure you can plug that into your calculator. So any of these answers would work. I'm just going to set this one up. Make sure the hypotenuse goes on the side by itself. And you guys can solve that. Okay, this is also a right triangle, but I don't have two sides in solving for a third. Instead, I have an angle. That means I'm going to use SOHCAHTOA. So I'm going to circle my angle. I'm going to label my sides. I want the sides that have print stuff, so that 12 and that X. A and H says use cosine. It's always cosine of our angle is A over H. Now on the test, it's a multiple choice problem, so if I have a list of options, those are the options that X could be. So we can plug this into our calculator, and then we can start plugging things for X and see which value of X makes this decimal equal this decimal. But in this case, we don't have multiple choice for this review packet, even though the test does. So in order to get X by itself, I need to multiply by 12 on both sides. So 12 times the cosine of 43 is equal to X. And that gives me a value of X as 8.78 if you round. Let's try this one. Here's my angle. Here's my O, my A, and my H. I need to use this 25 and this 18, so O and A is tangent. Tangent of my angle is O over A. Now, again, if this was the multiple choice, you would type this into your calculator and do a decimal, and then you just start plugging in the answer choices for the question mark and see how you get the two sides to match. But if you don't have multiple choice, remember we take the inverse tangent of both sides, and that's what gets rid of the tangent or undoes it. They're inverse operations, like adding and subtracting. So now I can type that into my calculator, and I get that the unknown angle is 35.75 degrees. It says round to the nearest whole angle, so 36 degrees. Now, if you can solve like this, that's totally fine, but remember it is multiple choice, so use that to your advantage. Okay, Venn diagram. We want the most general on the outside. Notice all of these have four sides, so quadrilateral is the most general. Okay, so I'm done with that. These three are special types of parallelograms, so parallelogram goes here. I'll do picogram. Okay. Rectangle means all of the angles are the same. Rhombus means all the sides are the same. A square means your angles and sides are the same. So square is the most specific, and then rectangle and rhombus. So if a rectangle is all the angles being the same, a rhombus is all the sides being the same, the square is when both of those things are happening. Okay, number 29. When I have a parallelogram, look, you'll notice the word parallel is right there. What I can do is I can say, okay, well that means this side is parallel to this side. And if you were to put dots and stars, you would notice that this would be a star and this would be a dot, or vice versa, which means these two add up to 180. Another way to do is just to know if you have a parallelogram, angles that are next to each other going around, we call those consecutive angles, add up to 180. So if these add up to 180, I can say, okay, well 180 minus 125 is 55. So this has to equal 55. Similarly, the angles that are opposite each other in a parallelogram are the same. So y is just 125. In this problem here, opposite sides of a parallelogram are the same, so this would go with this, and this would go with this, but notice there's nothing over there, so we're just going to set these two equal. And I would let you guys solve that. There's a key on Blackboard. This says find the measure of one interior angle. This says find the sum of the interior angles. Okay? If we want 1, that's when we do n minus 2 times 180, but then divide by the number of sides. When we want the sum, it's just n minus 2 times 180. Okay? Well, I believe this has 10 sides, so 10 minus 2 times 180 divided by 10. So 10 minus 2 is 8. 8 times 180 is 1440. Remember, I don't want all the angles are together. I want just one of them. So if there's 10 of them, I divide by 10, and I get that one angle is 144 degrees. Here, though, I want to know what all of them are. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And 7 times 180 is 1260 degrees. That's what all of these aim to. Here we just wanted to know what one of them was. Okay, circles. This is a PP problem because we're doing the lengths of lines inside of a circle. So there's one of them. Here's another. Let's do the red first. Part times part equals part times part. Make sure you distribute. Okay. I'm going to subtract 4 and divide by 4. Here we have stuff going outside the circle, but we're still dealing with lengths. So this is a whoa problem. Here's one of the pieces. Okay. This whole thing, so if I'm driving, I'm going 4, and then I'm going an additional x. Now let's pretend this x is 5. So I would drive 4 and then 5. That gives me a total length of 9. 4 and then x. I'm really going 4 plus x. So that whole thing is 4 plus x. It's a distance. The outside portion that's outside the circle is 4. This whole length in yellow is 6. All 6 of it is outside the circle. So I'm going to do times 6. So if I distribute, I get 16 plus 4x equals 36. And I'll let you guys solve that. 35. Here's my ice cream cone problems because I'm dealing with this thing here and this thing here is what I'm solving for. Notice this angle is the V, right? The point of the V is on the circle. It means the angle is half the arc. Now, if you look at it, it's either dividing by 2 or multiplying by 2. Which one looks bigger? This or squeezed in the point? Squeezed in the point is smaller, so I'm going to take 76 and divide by 2. So angle ADB is 38. In this case, though, here's the ice cream cone. Here's the ice cream, right? It's sticking out. This is going to be smaller than this is. So rather than divide by 2, I'm going to multiply by 2, and I get 90 for this. Okay. Let's keep going. It says solve for the area of the shaded region. Well, this is just a fraction of the circle's area. So I want a fraction of the total area. I have 45 out of a total of 360 degrees. Area is pi r squared. My radius is 8. Okay. When I type this in, so I'm going to do 45 divided by 360 times, I'm going to ignore the pi and do 8 squared times 8 squared. That's going to give me 8 pi as my answer, but sometimes we're going to multiply by 3.14 if none of the answer choices have pi in it. So you should be prepared to see this answer either of these two ways. Same thing here. We want the length of this. Well, this is just a portion, a fraction, of the total circumference. The fraction is angle over 360. Circumference is 2 pi r. My angle is 120. My radius is 5. If I ignore the pi and type everything in, I either get, I'll write it up, I'll do it right here, as 10/3 pi, but if I multiply by 3.14, I get 10.46 7. And you should be prepared to see it either of these two ways. Okay, the equation of a circle is written on the back of your formula sheet. This reminds you to take the center and change the sign. So I see a -1, so it's going to be an x plus 1. I see a y minus k, but k is 4, so it's going to become a y minus 4. It was positive here, negative here. My radius is 9. For volume and surface area, I'm going to let you guys worry about those by yourself. There's a key on Blackboard, but let me go over these last two real fast. The vocab on the back you can do yourself as well. It says the ratio of the radii of two similar cones is this. As soon as you see the word ratio and a 3D figure, cones are 3D, that should be your indication to set up the LAV table. Okay. They told us that the ratio of the radii is just plural for radius. Radius, is it a length, a distance, an area, or volume? Well, radius is a length, so this 2 to 3, that ratio is going to go here. I want to find the ratio of their volumes. Well, notice A turns into A cubed. Well, 2 cubed, or 2 times 2 times 2 is 8. B is 3, B cubed, so B times B times B is 27. So my answer is 8 to 27. Last one. The height of a cylinder is doubled. The radius is multiplied by 5. What is the impact on the volume of the cylinder? So the volume of a cylinder is pi r squared h. There's two ways you can do this. One option would be to say, okay, I'm going to pick randomly that the height of a cylinder, this is going to be 2, and the radius is going to be 3. So I'm just going to plug that in. And if you plug that in, I'm going to include the pi. So 3.14 times 3 squared times 2 gives me 56.52. Well, if you remember, it says the height is going to be doubled, so the height is going to become 4. The radius is multiplied by 5. That's going to become 15. Let's see what the volume is now. So I'm going to have 3.14 times 15 squared times 4. Well, we want to know the impact on the volume. So how many times greater is it? So to figure that out, I'm going to do the bigger number divided by the smaller number. That will give me how many times greater it is. I got 50 times greater. Now, there are other ways to do this problem, but I think this is a safe way to do it. So, that said, don't forget there's a little bit of vocab on the back. Make sure you know what all of these words mean. But other than that, I think you guys are in good shape. So make sure you review this. I would print out an extra copy and do it again. The keys on Blackboard, all the extra review pages from class are on Blackboard as long as they're along with their keys. I really hope you guys do well. Take some time, maybe go over your memory sheet and write that down at the beginning of the test if you have it memorized. And I just hope you guys do absolutely fantastic. So I'll see you guys soon.